An unhoused man living in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., recently spoke to the New York Times. So there was an interview Friday, and he was asked, okay, look, given that you're an unhoused person living in Washington, D.C., that has been taken over by federal troops, okay, federalized police forces by President Donald Trump, and who has gone around and cleared out these homeless encampments, okay? Do you still support Donald Trump? And he says, yeah, I do. Wow. Again, this is after federal troops threw away all of this unhoused man's possessions after Trump had called for a crackdown on homeless people in the nation's capital. This man, David Barnes, told the New York Times that, quote, Trump and his presidency have taken away not one, but two of my tents. All my stuff, it's gone. It's gone. Thrown away. Eliminated. I have nothing. I have next to nothing. I have less than nothing. Okay? Nothing. And yet, he said, look, I voted for Trump, and I'd do it again. I'd do it again. Why? Why would you do that? Apparently, he says, well, hey, all Trump's trying to do is just trying to keep the nation's capital, pristine and beautiful. And people like me who are on the street are preventing that from happening. So he had to come in. He had to come in and take my stuff and throw it all away, leaving me with absolutely nothing. But at least it's going to be beautiful. Really? Wow. Look, here's the thing about the whole. See, the Capitol's got to be pristine and beautiful, right? I don't exactly know if roving armed gangs of federal police is any better than what was going on before. Look, here's the thing. I don't like seeing unhoused people in 10 cities any more than anybody else. That may come as a shocker, but here's the thing. I'm a huge advocate of giving homeless people homes. That right there would solve it. You see, unlike the far right, unlike many liberals, and let's be honest with you about that, okay? I do not hate unhoused people. In fact, I want to help unhoused people by giving them homes and financial security. And you know what? I want everybody to have homes. That's right. And guess what? We have, as a society, the capability of giving every person who needs a place to sleep a place to sleep. I know. But yet, why then do we not have that? It's because there's no political will to do so. And look, this is backed up by data. Okay, according to research from the University of Kansas published last year, most of the nation's housing markets have ample supply of housing for everyone. And of course, look, different cities obviously have different supply, and sometimes they can come up a little short. However, for the most part, there's enough housing for everyone. So what's the problem then? The problem is the markets are lacking affordable housing. That's really it. The markets are lacking the affordable housing. The housing exists. The housing exists. But because landlords are greedy, real estate folks are greedy, that housing is unavailable for people to actually live in. That's right. Researchers found only 4 of the nation's 381 metropolitan areas experienced any sort of housing shortage within the study's time frame, as did only 19 of the country's 526 micropolitan areas, those with about 10,000 to 5,000 residents. That's between, I believe, the years of 2012 to 2024. Now, the findings, of course, suggest that addressing housing prices and low incomes is more urgently needed to solve the homelessness crisis than simply building more homes. That's right. It's not the building. It's not that we need to build more homes, more abundance. No, it's that we already have enough homes. We already have enough places for people to go. It's just that it's too expensive. They can't afford it. In fact, one of the authors wrote, there is a commonly held belief that the United States has a shortage of housing. This can be found in the popular and academic literature and from the housing industry. The data shows that the majority of American markets have adequate supplies of housing available. Unfortunately, not enough of it is affordable, especially for low-income and very low-income families and individuals. Boom. That's it. That's it. There's actually more than enough housing for everyone. Period. Okay? Then why aren't people in these homes? Because we are living in a time where we have a manufactured scarcity crisis. Manufactured scarcity, okay? From 2000 to 2020, for example, housing production actually exceeded the growth of households by about 3.3 million units. But yeah, it's a long, that's 20 years, only 3.3 million units? Well, maybe they ran out of housing. No. The surplus from 2000 to 2010, right after the housing crisis, by the way, okay? So there are the mortgage crisis and all that stuff. Even then, the surplus from those years more than offset the shortages from 2010 to 2020. Okay? The numbers also show that nearly all metropolitan areas have had sufficient units for owner occupancy, but nearly all have shortages of rental units that are affordable to the very low-income renter households. Places exist for people to go, but the people do not have the money to go and live there. That's it. People like this Trump voter in Washington, D.C., which is a very expensive place to live. They cannot afford to rent there, so that is why he is on the street. Look, believe it or not, this represents a vast majority of homeless people. They are not choosing to be homeless. They are not choosing to be unhoused. They are priced out of homes by wealthy people, billionaires. Okay? The reality is that the increased corporate control over our housing markets by, again, the billionaire investors and their for-profit entities are driving up homelessness. That's a reality. This is not a result of personal failures or, bad markets, so we got to build more housing. No, we don't. No, we don't. We are all caught up in a housing system that has been distorted by the participation of a class of ultra-wealthy investors. They buy up all the homes, they rent them out at increasingly higher prices, driving up all the costs, and yet there are people, many people, who cannot keep up with the increasing costs because wages have not kept up. This is an example of why housing should have never been a commodity, like healthcare as well, okay? Healthcare and housing, they're not like shoes, okay? They're not like Nikes, okay? They're not like iPhones, okay? You can get away with not having an iPhone, although shoes, yes, shoes are important as well. You need shoes. But not the most high designer shoe, to be fair. But you need a home. You need a place to live. You need a residence, okay? So you're not sleeping on the street. You need that. And we are not providing that as a country, even though we absolutely can. So now here's the thing, getting back to the story, right? It would be really easy to dunk on this guy, and I'm actually not going to do it. Why am I going to kick a man when he's down to the lowest point possible just because he voted for Trump? He already lost everything. He has absolutely nothing. What would that accomplish? What would be the point? Sure, you could say, oh, well, he made bad decisions. The bad decision was voting for Trump, but the bad decision for voting for Trump did not make him into a homeless person. Okay, and let's be fair about that. And he was very likely to also be homeless under Joe Biden. All right, and that's the reality. So no, I'm not going to dunk on this guy for that. All right, not at all. Look, in my view, though, I do believe that he seems to have internalized his own situation as being his own fault. Maybe I'm wrong, but the reality is we are all living in a system where housing is beyond reach for millions of people, while millions more are hanging on by a thread, and neither side, Republicans or Democrats, have properly addressed it. Remember, Democrats, their view is, well, let's just build more houses then. That'll fix it. No, it won't. No, it won't. Republicans, however, I mean, you see what their solution to homelessness is. Arrest all the homeless people, throw them into camps, throw them into mental institutions, throw them into jails. Worthless people, I just want to see them. So that's their solution to this. Both of them are not actual solutions. Although you do notice that it might actually reflect their respective ideologies. The Democrats right now are doing this whole abundance BS. Oh, we just have to have more market-based solutions, right? What? Why? What? No. No, that's not the problem here. That's not the problem. Building more housing, doing more market-based solutions isn't going to fix a damn thing, because we are not facing a supply problem. So no supply side solutions are going to solve this. Okay? And then, of course, you have the Republicans with their love of authoritarian police states, where they take all the money out of social programs, out of places, programs that actually help the poor, and places that house them, and places that feed them. They take the money out of those things and they put them into police. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's going on here. Okay? Neither side seems to have the answer on this, and yet both of them, by the way, are also engaging in the same kind of police actions, clearing out encampments while doing nothing real to address the actual problem, affordability. Again, you could talk about Gavin Newsom, who is now apparently the Democrats' new great white hope, okay, in California, because he actually is sticking up, for himself against Donald Trump and trolling him. I enjoy a good trolling of Donald Trump. Don't get me wrong about that. But he engaged in the same practice against the homeless population in California. They didn't address the real issues, which is affordability, which is lacking here. So this might surprise you, but I actually have a lot of pity for this man, for this homeless man. I don't want to see him homeless. I don't care who he voted for. Okay? I do not want to see someone, who is, who has internalized an unjust system and, unsurprisingly, has voted for more injustice. I think we need a better way. And I think in this country in this world where we have all of the resources available to us, there should be a better way. We can do this. We can do something different. But because you have all of the resources that are being held at the top, and those some people will justify hoarding these resources and say, well, it's because you're not deserving of it. You're lazy or whatever. You're a criminal. You're on drugs, all those stuff, all right? All those excuses, allowing the worst people to hoard the resources like they're, some sort of a dragon from the Lord of the Rings, okay? Well, actually the Hobbit, but you know what I'm talking about, okay? Smaug. Taking all the resources and sitting on it. There's Scrooge McDuck jumping into the pile of gold. That's what the billionaires are doing right now, while people are homeless, while people are starving. Food banks are running out of resources. And yet, the same people that have caused this issue, the billionaires, are the very ones that turn around and blame people for being into abject poverty and homelessness. That's the reality of the situation. So this man, who, yes, voted to victimize other people and would do so again, and I definitely, I don't like that. But he himself is also a victim. And I think there's a lot of people on the right that are the same way. And that's just sad. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.